Hi, and welcome to Q&A with Megan. I'm Megan, and today our Q&A session is focused on trust in God, how to have more of that. Our first and only question today is, I want to trust more in God's love and plan for me. What is your advice regarding this? Well, I have 4 steps to more trust in God. The first step that I want to share with you is simply to communicate more with God from the very beginning of your day. When you first wake up in the morning, think about God and this intention to trust in everything that happens, to trust in the goodness of God's plan for you, God's love for you, and just connect with God in some way in your mind, in your soul, in your heart, right when you wake up. After that, continue to communicate with God through an intentional prayer at some point during your day. I suggest in the morning, and just talk to God a little bit about what your desires are, what you're thinking, what you want, what you hope for, and take some time to let God speak to your heart and listen to what God has to say. I know you've heard this before probably, but I'm just really encouraging you to make this a priority, to make your relationship with God something that is truly in the forefront of your mind more often during the day, and that is something that is so present to you in so many moments of your experience in life. And then along with communicating with God throughout the day, I want you to think about using a mantra, which is just a short phrase or a word that you can remind yourself of throughout the day. So it can literally be like you're going about your day and something happens that makes you question your joy or God's plan for you, and you just say your mantra, which could be trust in God, trust God, God is trustworthy, I can do this, God is for me. Whatever it is that works for you, try something, a mantra. And you can use this when you're confused or worrying, or you can also use this when you are experiencing joy and so much is working out, and you can just remind yourself, yes, like this is trusting in God, that God is behind this, that God is the source of all perfection, everything that happens in my life, and that everything's going to evolve into something good for me, as it will, because God loves us so much. And so we can continue through our communication with and our cultivation of this relationship that we have with God. Through doing this, we can increase our trust and truly just grow to live in this constant state of connection and joy, because we know that all things work for the good of those who love God. That's in Romans chapter 8, verse 28. So my next step, moving on, is to follow your peace, to follow your intuition and your heart, that still space within you that knows what's right, that knows what feels good, to follow that, and to not necessarily have any expectation about what will happen once you do follow that, to be somewhat detached from the outcome. And then when something does occur, accept whatever it is that happens and tell yourself, remind yourself to trust in God, that this is God's plan for you and that things will work out for your good if you just continue to trust along these lines of whatever is happening. So when you follow your intuition, then accept what happens to you. I also want to really encourage you, this is the 3rd step now, to use more humor in your life and to just have more fun. Be more open to that. Be more open to laughter, to the lightness and levity that this universe has to offer. I mean, we can't always take life so seriously, and we know that God is the source of all humor and lightness and goodness, and so we can really trust and take so much joy in the fact that we're meant to experience levity and so much laughter and enjoyment. So if something happens to go wrong in our lives, we can just think like, oh, like this is kind of a cosmic joke that's being played on me in a very playful, light, loving way, and that it's really going to be all right, that God still loves us, is there for us, has this perfect plan for us. Now, doing this, really finding more humor and light in situations, will allow us to have more joy. And this is something that I also want to make sure to point out, that we have control over a lot of the happiness and joy that we experience in this life. We can decide, it's a choice to feel joyful, to really live in this beautiful vibration of feeling good and feeling joyful. And this is where God works very powerfully, and where things can really happen, and we can manifest what we truly desire by continuing to feel good and just feel good into whatever goal we want to accomplish. And so that's a little bit about manifestation. But getting back to this trust in God, my last step, my fourth step, is to just repeat these steps over and over, to communicate with God as much as possible throughout the day, to remind yourself of truly God's goodness. It might start in your head. It has to be alive in your heart. And you have to just live fully in this conviction, this belief, because truly it's not just our thoughts that create our reality, it's our beliefs that create our reality. So we have to work on being so convicted and of this belief that God has our best interest in mind. God loves us so much. And once we communicate with God on this, talk to God about how we really feel about this, listen to what God has to inspire us with, then we can continue on and just live our lives through our peace and our intuition, which was that second step, following our heart and accepting what happens, and then remembering our third step, to find the humor in all things, in as much as possible, to laugh more and to just love and enjoy this existence, because God loves you and God loves all of us. And I just hope and pray that we can all live more into this perfect, beautiful joy that God has ready for us to connect with in every single moment. So God bless you on your journey. I will see you next week for another Q&A, and I wish you all the best. Continue to have joy and trust in God. See you later. Take care.